Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. Late starting this week, a ton to talk about, especially in college football week one. We'll get to Georgia, but I want to know your biggest surprise. What surprised you the most on the opening week one of the NCAA slate?
I came away, I was talking all offseason about how bad Florida was. And then a couple weeks before the start of the season, I was like, you know what? They're going to end up beating Miami. Cam Ward is absolutely for real. And in ACC where, Clemson's dead. I mean, I know Georgia's the best team in football, yada, yada, yada. We're going to get to it. But I think Clemson's dead. I mean, this is Mac Brown at Texas. This is the end of the empire. I mean, it's going to be bad. Miami with Cam Ward is the biggest thing I took away. They can absolutely get a first-round bye to, win the ACC, get a first-round bye to the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree. I mean, Cam Ward looked like an absolute superstar. Yeah. He was slinging that thing like not a lot of guys can sling that thing. I mean, he came as advertised, and Miami, and just in all facets, looked like a complete football team. I definitely think there's no doubt they are now the early front runners. I'm not ready to proclaim Clemson dead because, frankly, I don't know how much weight you can take out of the Georgia game when Georgia just looked like Georgia, the most dominant team in the country. And you were spot on with that, close in the first half. And then Georgia pulls away because Clemson offense, I thought they might have anything. It didn't matter what they did.
No.
They couldn't get anything. They were dominant. I don't want to go with the Florida-Miami game as the biggest surprise because, frankly, is anyone really surprised?
I was just going to say, is Miami good or is Florida that bad?
Are we that surprised that Florida laid an egg at home on opening week? I mean, I don't know how Billy Napier having a job might be my biggest surprise. But, of course, I've been saying that for 2 years. I think a couple things. One, I think USC's defense, and I hate to do that against LSU, that as terms of just what was a huge surprise, because I thought you saw what LSU could do offensively for a lot of that game, especially wide receivers. Nuss looked really good. But at the end of the day, USC actually had like a physicality up front, something that they haven't had. The whole team looked a lot more physical. They made a lot of big changes. LSU made a lot of big changes. I thought both of those units for most of the game were extremely, extremely surprising, particularly USC's, which kind of did it throughout the whole game, where LSU's faltered there at the end. I thought that was surprising. I think you got to look at Oregon and what happened there. I mean, just an absolute mess against Idaho and what almost turned into one of the biggest upsets in college football history. So I think those there was a couple of more. I mean, there were things that were obvious.
Notre Dame, and again, I don't know. We're venturing into the side of like it's not that surprising. Is it surprising? Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman. I love Marcus Freeman. I hate it that like Brian Kelly left there and Notre Dame hates LSU. LSU kind of hates Notre Dame or whatever. Because I love Marcus Freeman. I think he's doing great things. That team wants to play for him more than the other guy, let me tell you. And it feels like Notre Dame actually, this might be the year, maybe, because Riley Leonard is that good. He is that good. A&M's defense is a good defense, and they handled him. They beat him in a way where it was like, oh, okay, that you haven't been able to do this in a lot of Notre Dame years where you can go pound for pound with the biggest bully in the yard. And they did that.
Yeah, let's stick with the Big Ten. Let's stick with USC because I am wondering, everyone proclaimed, and this a lot stemmed from Paul Feinbaum and his ridiculous comments that Lincoln Riley was dead and he was a dead coach.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a great look for LSU because it had everyone thinking that they were actually dead in a dead program. They did a lot of good things. Now you look at this Big Ten. Ohio State obviously did their thing, but they played Akron. Michigan definitely didn't look great against Fresno State. The defense was great, but offensively, they were just a non-existent side of the ball. They have a huge game against Texas where they will be pressed. Texas looked really good. Arch Manning looked really good. Quinn Ewers looked really good. Yeah. So there are a lot of good stuff from there. But USC now, they beat LSU. Where are they in the Big Ten ranks, right? Penn State looked pretty good against West Virginia, right? But,
they did.
They looked pretty good. Michigan didn't look great. Ohio State, Oregon didn't look great. Like, where does USC slot in? Like, would it surprise you to make some noise in the Big Ten?
No, I'm not gonna, sell out on the Oregon, coming out sleepy against Idaho whatsoever. But I think this is the exact same where everybody's overreacting to LSU and underreacting to USC, similar to what we did last year, where FSU came out of nowhere, went undefeated, and obviously if Jordan Travis had never gotten injured, they would have been in the college football playoff. And who would have known what really would have happened? Well, they won a natty, maybe not, but they're in the conversation. I think the exact same thing is going to happen for USC in terms of, going undefeated. maybe not, but making noise in the Big Ten and then the college football playoff, where LSU disappointed on a national scale, which we seem to do every single year. And we're sitting here after Labor Day hurting and we're licking our wounds and everybody's, the sky is falling, fire Brian Kelly, which I was saying on Sunday night, but it is in a joking manner. We're going to look back at this game in 2 months and been like, damn, USC is actually really good, where their defense is actually really good, where this offensive line at LSU, we're questioning, is it the best unit in the league? I just think USC's defense is that good. I think they made tangible steps forward. And everybody, like we've been saying, it doesn't matter who Lincoln Riley has at quarterback. I mean, it literally doesn't matter. Miller Moss looked absolutely unbelievable, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but what Lincoln Riley can do in that headset is second to none in college football.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what's the scariest thing in college football for anybody? Lincoln Riley finding a defense, figuring it out. I think that might be the scariest thing if you're looking at the top programs and a team like getting up there. The scariest thing is Lincoln Riley, because Miller Moss is going to have a fantastic year. He was unbelievable, and having Lincoln Riley in that headset, they're going to be a great offense. They have fantastic wide receivers. If that defense can continue to improve what they showed on Sunday night against LSU, that is going to be a force to be reckoned with any team in the Big Ten, even the big boys in Ohio State. Now let's get to Georgia. Unbelievably dominant performance, and you almost sit there and laugh because you're watching the game and it's just like they're so much bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody they play against. Even a team in Clemson that we talked into this game that does have athletes, that does have a lot of talent, and they physically break your will, and they do it in this a kind of manner that it doesn't look pretty for a while, and then you're just like, holy crap.
And then you look up at the scoreboard
and
it's
by 30
touchdown game. Yeah.
I mean, defensively, they were unbelievable.
Yeah, but this might be one of those defenses.
Yeah, but then offensively, they showed what they can be. They wore down Clemson in every sense of the manner, and they literally are a boa constrictor, just suffocating you at every moment. And it's crazy that Kirby Smart's been able to do this with the NIL, with the transfer portal, because you saw Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time, get tired of it. That's why he's no longer coaching, because it is way harder to do. And Kirby Smart keeps doing it. He reloads at the high school level. He answers his needs in the transfer portal, and then he coaches better than everybody in the country. And it's a work of art. And we're not even Georgia fans, but as college football fans, you have to appreciate that level of dominance, especially when all the factors are working against establishing that level of dominance.
It's a machine down there in Athens. I'm not surprised. Beck didn't even have a great game, and they still at will beat the hell out of Clemson. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they're better coached, they're more motivated to win. They have everything going for them. I saw something silly from the AJC. They better not become Clemson. And something about Texas becoming Bama. Georgia is Bama. Like, this is Bama. And I don't care about the NIL. I don't care about this or that, the 12-team playoff, the expanded SEC. Georgia is the new Bama. This is the standard every single year. And if they slip up on one of the three, and the hardest road trip in college football history, maybe for a competing team, if they slip up one time, I will not be worried, because I promise that'll just be a little bit more motivation for when they inevitably do make the college football playoff. They're better than everyone.
And I'll speak to the team that everybody's going to be highlighting in a few weeks, is when they travel to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama, who looked unbelievable in DeBoer's first game. Western Kentucky, everyone's going to be like, oh, they're just this Western. Listen, you beat a team 63-0, a team that's a Power 5 team that, I mean, TJ Finley was talking about how they could be a group of 5 team coming into the playoffs. Now, of course, that's one of their own players, but it just shows you, I mean, Western Kentucky isn't a team.
It's not a rollover and die team.
They were 31-point favorites. They weren't like 50-point favorites. They went out there and dominated every facet of the game. You saw some of their young receivers who they're really excited about, which really I think is
Ryan Williams
is a stud. He's a stud, right? And I think Alabama looked really, really good. I think Georgia looked really, really good. You got to go on the road to play them early in the season. I think that's a showdown where you're going to see where both of those teams are made of it. And frankly, I just can't wait for that to happen.
I am so excited for that game. I'm just so happy for college football to be back. I do want to go back to the LSU USC. I talked up USC, but I do think that LSU can absolutely, especially when you just look at their schedule, that is, if USC goes out and does what I expect them to do, LSU can can still make the college football playoff. They got to upset one of Bama or Ole Miss, and they probably would be they'll be favored against Ole Miss, I expect, and it might be a toss-up against Bama or a toss-up against Ole Miss. They upset one of those teams, you're a 2-loss team. You're getting into the college football playoff. LSU looked really, really good. And once again, like they did against Florida State, they shot themselves in the foot. The defense was very much improved. Very much improved. Blake Baker called a hell of a game. I know the last drive was really bad, but that has more to do with Lincoln Riley and Miller Moss than it does LSU and Blake Baker. The one thing I will take away that just can't happen is LSU's offensive line they got bullied, and that's pathetic when you claim to be the best offensive line in the country. And Joe Sloan has got to let Nuss rip it. I mean, the 5-yard down the field passes, you've got one of the strongest arms in college football. Let him use it. Do want to shout out Nico, Tennessee. They look like they can make some noise too. That kid is unbelievable too.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what they did with Jaden Daniels early on in his career.
It was the first Florida State game. They were asking Jaden Daniels to throw it 5 yards down the field, and they're like, oh, he can actually throw it down the field accurately.
Especially when you have those weapons, especially when you have a guy
just throw it up to Kyron Lacey.
And Kyron Lacey showed, we talked about him before the opening game. Yeah, outside of that.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Unbelievable atmosphere in Vegas, and really just a great week one all around.
Yeah,
I thought college football, if you didn't think this was going to be awesome, we're just getting started.
We're not even talking about Florida State. Oh my gosh,
that might have been the biggest surprise.
Is it?
I wasn't that surprised. I thought they had a good shot of losing, especially coming off that come down. I know that you expect them to get back up. They have the whole season in front of them. I just thought they looked so bad in that week one game. And I think Boston College and Bill O'Brien are a team that they're not going to go out there and win 9-10 games, but they're a team that can beat you if you don't play like crap. And oh my God, cover the damn wheel route. Like, what do we do in Florida State? They ran the same wheel route like 35 times and nobody was covering the running back. It's like the easiest pass to complete as a quarterback. And it was just wide open for 30 yards whenever they needed it in every big situation. But DJU, hang it up, buddy, man. Find a new career.
Fire up the resume. I mean, it's over. It's over. And Mike Norvell has got some serious, inward looking to do. He caught magic in a bottle last year through the transfer portal. That's going to happen every so often, maybe, but that's not how you build a consistent winner in today's college football.
Yeah, and it's funny. Mike Norvell had 2 really good seasons. Both started against LSU. Every other season at Florida State, he started 0-2. Every other season.
Schedule LSU. You'll win.
Schedule LSU, that opening game, you're guaranteed to get a dub. Unbelievable weekend. We're going to get into some Falcons talk after the break.